Yes, this is the news that Boris Johnson's senior advisor and the nation's sweetheart, Dominic Cummings, is going nowhere for a change. After a joint scoop by the Daily Mirror and The Guardian claiming that Dominic Cummings had broken the country's strict lockdown by driving 260 miles to Durham and embarking on a further jaunt to Barnard Castle, he held a press conference. Ian, I'm sure you were convinced by that.
He gave an hour and a half of utter twaddle. It's absolutely clear he did break the regulations. He found one tiny clause, which he said made an exception, but that didn't cover the journey, for example, to Barnard Castle. It was nonsense. It was absolute nonsense. And I suppose people were cross because they think he's taking us for an idiot. I mean, the eye test thing is marvellous. The idea that you're not sure whether you can drive back to London. So in order to test your eyesight, you put your 4-year-old in the back of the car and drive around to see if you knock over any pedestrians.
Let's be honest, who hasn't decided to test their eyesight under a strict lockdown during a terrifying global pandemic by strapping their young child into the car and heading to a town in Teesdale?
Has anybody said whether weird blurred vision is a symptom of this virus?
Boris has. Boris had some glasses as a prop at the press conference afterwards and went, whoa.
Another top medical expert.
Shall we have a look?
On the point about eyesight, I might just say I'm finding I have to wear spectacles for the first time in years because of I think because of the effects of this thing. So I'm inclined to think there's some I think that's very, very plausible that that eyesight can be a problem associated with coronavirus.
Thanks to a tweet from Richard Littler, we've got an idea of what Mr. Cummings would have seen when he got to Barnard Castle. Michael Gove was asked to defend this novel approach to optical healthcare by Nick Ferrari on LBC.
Would you go on a 60-mile round trip to test your eyesight?
I have, on occasions in the past, driven with my wife in order to make sure that... what's the right way of putting it?
I'm staggered. I don't know how you're going to get out of this one, but it's going to be fun.
No. I think people who know me would know that I'm not an authority on driving.
Can I just ask a question here? What does LBC stand for? Is it, look, bullshit's coming?
He said he's not an authority on driving, but he's been across all the media clearing Cummings completely, saying he didn't disobey any of the rules. It's absolutely clear. So he clearly is an authority on absolutely everything. He's one of those experts we used to hate.
On Wednesday, the Daily Star front page offered some helpful advice to its readers. Cops, don't drive if you're blind. Ian, what exactly happened during this essential yet scenic excursion to Barnard Castle?
They drove around, then he seemed to think that his eyes were OK. His son needed to go to the toilet. I know, it's just so ridiculous. They got out, the son went to the toilet. Oh, they played for a bit. So it wasn't quite a toilet stop, it was more of a play stop. Then they got in the car again and said, right, my eyes are fine, we'll go back to London tomorrow. Not now, obviously, because that would make sense, but it might not fit the narrative, which has been constructed backwards from the known facts to fit them.
Well, what he didn't say was that the son had actually been peeing into the car tank to fill it up so that they could get back to London.
Yeah. Absolutely. Come on, son, drink up the Lucozade. We've got another 200 miles to go.
Janet, if I was to say to you, that's Barney Castle, what would I be saying?
That's Barney Castle. Got no idea.
It's an old saying about how it's a load of old tosh, isn't it? It's an old English term for poor excuse.
Yes, it is, yes.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It is, isn't it?
I never heard that.
It's from the Book of English Proverbs and Proverbial Phrases of 1929. Barnard Castle was used as a slang response to someone making a ridiculous excuse for their actions. I know you couldn't make it up, could you?
Yeah.
Ian, when did Prime Minister Boris Johnson know that his advisor had made the 260-mile trip to Durham?
It's not entirely clear, like so much. According to Mr. Cummings, there was a conversation when they were both so ill they couldn't possibly remember it.
Cummings said at the press conference that he told his boss he was in Durham several days into his 14-day stay. When we were both sick and in bed, I mentioned to him what I'd done. Unsurprisingly, given the condition we were in, neither of us remember the conversation in any detail. Is it just me, or is anybody else getting a Morecambe and Wise image in their head there?
Yes, exactly.